Welcome to tonight's transmission of the Ministry of Assumption Absolute. I'm your host and identity alchemist, self-sovereignty mentor, Lucian St. James on this channel. In these transmissions brought to you by and courtesy of the Electric Temple, we discuss manifestation from a non-dualistic perspective, investigating the interior of the self, state first, state over stuff. And this is something that has been coming up in my work with my clients frequently, and even some of my personal conversations I've been having with those near and dear to me. So I felt the need to say it to you since it's in my sphere, and it sounds very basic, but you are not a problem to be solved. If we're talking about, so let's talk about like, how do you manifest anything, right? Like I'm always saying, ministry mantra, you don't need to be taught to manifest. What all of this content can help you to do is to align your awareness to the fact that everything you're seeing is coming from whence throughout everything that you agree to be true and who you say that you are. So we're talking about identity. We're talking about agreements, which you agree to, which you know to be certain. And we're talking about your attention. So where is your focus predominantly? And for most of us, we're focused. For most of us, we're focused. I live rural. I live rural and I serve rural communities. So sometimes that comes out. But a lot of times if our focus is externalized, then we're chasing external results and we think that what we want is the thing, when really what we're trying to get a hold of is the emotional state that thing will give us, but it will only give us that emotional association and that experience because we said so. So technically what we're doing is separating ourselves from the experiences that we feel and have a sense that we deserve, but feel like are displaced from us because they can only come to us by way of something outside of us. So that we chase and strive for that thing outside of us. And that thing outside of us could be a better relationship with the person of your desire. It could be a material object. It could be a certain job, a certain stature, a certain social standing. And we think that thing is going to give us the experience when that thing is just a representative. I talk about it as a representative container because of the substance of you. So whether you get the thing or don't get the thing, if what you're charging, so if that representative container then is charged with the substance of you, and the substance of you then says that I don't have what I want, I'm unhappy unless 3D circumstances align to my reality in the exact way that I prefer them, which really means that my emotional state and my understanding of self is dependent upon things that I can't control. That's me saying I'm not in control of who I believe that I am. So thus my life looks as though it's out of control and it looks like I don't have what I want because I'm living a state. I'm living in the identity of I am not someone who has what I want. I am waiting for what I want. I am building up to what I want. I am going to get what I want. I am working on what I want. I am developing. I am becoming. So yes, can all of us, I call it, expand the capacity of ourselves, of our ability to withstand perhaps distressing situations with unconditional allowance, with unconditional acceptance? Can we continue to expand our understanding of ourselves? Yes. Can we continue to strip away layers that are no longer serving, that are, when I say no longer serving, that we have identified are hurting us, are keeping us in separation, are keeping us locked in patterns of thought and negative emotion that we keep recreating because we believe in the validity of that negative emotion and what it says about us rather than it just being an experience that we're observing? Yes. We can all continue expanding our ability to experience more of ourselves, because when you have a trigger or when you have something you don't prefer and it begins to control you, or if you have somebody in your sphere that you don't like, that you're always quarreling with, or if you feel the need to be right about everything, or if you have these things around you that you feel like bring you out of the state of your best self and then kind of subordinate you to this slew of I can't stand this. I can't stand it. Like I can't stand to have it in my reality unless it looks the way that I want it to look. I have things in your life that like, okay, I can't tolerate that experience because it brings me down, then what you're saying is that that's a place where I'm not free. That's a place where there's a contingency as to what I should allow. And you shouldn't just allow everything in your life. I mean, you want to align yourself with a state where you're dealing with less and less of those things. But at the same time, if you find yourself emotionally controlled by them, then that is pointing to an internal state that says, I can't tolerate this type of experience, so I have to either avoid it or deny it or distort it or try to make it go away, persist in resisting it. And the more that I resist it, the more that I continue to see it in my reality, the more unhappy I am, the more I align with being somebody who doesn't have what they want. And this just continues and goes, oh, it's my earring jingling because I'm moving around a lot. But it's been a really strange day. This end of the year, I'll tell you, I run into some strange situations. So I think I'm probably a little on edge. But anyway, my point being is that you're not a problem to be solved. You don't need to work on yourself. Expanding capacity, yes. Identifying prisons of emotions and thought patterns and people and circumstances. So once we realize, oh, that's something that elicits a very negative response in me, that's something that I don't want to control my reality. How can I release myself from the expectation and the obligation of certain things needing to happen a certain way while still aligning myself with the best intended version of who I see myself to be? Absolutely. But you don't need to run. You don't need to solve. You don't need to fix. You don't need to work on yourself, because anything you do, any process that you engage in with the idea that you need to fix yourself is then just going to reinforce the fact that, and I've done this, that you need to be fixed. Even if you find success with it, even if you work on a particular trigger, if you do it with the understanding that I'm broken and I need to be fixed, then you're just going to still keep seeing evidence in your reality, even if your particular response to that particular trigger is no longer as excessive. You're still going to find things in your reality that reinforce the fact that you're broken because you believe that you're broken. It has nothing to do with the trigger. That's what I'm saying. It has nothing to do with the stuff outside of us. It has to do, those are shells. It has to do with the internal substance that we're charging or filling those representative containers with. So there's nothing for you to fix or to solve. We realign our attention. We can declare a new state of I am, a new state of identity. You maintain a focus that's conducive to the state of your wish fulfilled, of already having it. Detachment is the same thing as having it. You don't need to try to let go to something that you know as a fact of your reality is already here. You continue learning, you continue growing, you continue identifying places where you're not free, but you don't need to fix yourself. Just get that out of your head. And what's crazy then, and this is what I've learned, just working with people for years, is that, so we might identify that we have a situation or, some type of quote unquote negative characteristic trait or, a trigger or a diagnosis or, some type of, internal conflict going on. But then at least I've been on the, the other side of, providing, some level of service to the individual who is, seeking to enhance their mental wellness, is that then, and Anna Freud talks a lot about this, she spent her whole career freaking talking about ego defenses, just thousands of pages of all these fucking books on ego defenses. And then what we'll do is we'll identify a problem, but then we'll talk about how it's not that big of a problem and why this external circumstance, influenced the creation of the problem and why this isn't our fault and how, well, I might identify that I have this problem, but here's really what I meant. So then we spend time we'll identify that we have a problem with anxiety, but then we'll go on talking about all the reasons why we deserve to have that problem. And I'm not saying your experiences are invalid, but I'm do you want to keep having that experience? Do you want to keep aligning yourself as somebody that has anxiety? And then I'm okay, well then stop identifying that way. I mean, it isn't that simple. And it's well, no, because of and I never say it that straight. I mean, it depends on who I'm talking to and what for, obviously. But then it's oh, well, no, this and that and the other. And, and I really am calm in certain situations. And then you start giving this anxious response to the fact that you have anxiety, which is really just doubling down on that identity. Stop even identifying that way. You might be a person that can observe that at points in time you experience an emotion called anxiety. Do you see how distant that language is as opposed to I am anxiety, I have anxiety? So you're not a problem to be solved. You don't need to be fixed. You're not broken. I'm not saying, because you're inherently worthy inside, but you are, because you're an individualized expression of the all that is. And yes, in the individualized expression, we're a fragment of that. So we come loaded with features and flaws and all types of character defects, as the AA community would like to call them. But that doesn't mean that you're not internally and inherently whole. It means just that we have ideas of experience that lead us to believe that we're not whole in the first place. So signing off of tonight's transmission of the Ministry of Assumption, absolute manifestation from a non-dual perspective. State first over stuff. State over stuff. State over stuff.